Hey everyone, today we have a very special guest with us. Someone who is an actor, producer, UN Secretary General's advocate for sustainable development goals, and UNEP advocate, goodwill ambassador as well. We have Dia Mirza with us. Dia, it's a pleasure to have you with us on CNBC-TV18. Thank you so much for taking out time.
Thank you.
And talking about something which is really important, close to your heart, my heart as well, and that's climate change and sustainability as well. And before I talk to you about the bigger issue, I just wanted to understand, how did this idea of the fact that climate change is really impacting our lives come to you, and you really thought that yes, this needs to be addressed, and yes, I need to speak about it? What happened?
Sonal, interestingly, the first reports for climate change were published and made accessible to the world in 1981, which is the year of my birth. And I was fortunate enough to go to school in Hyderabad that discussed this extensively right through my school years. So we had an interesting schooling system where our assemblies used to be debates and discussions. And there were many discussions that I can think back to in grade 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, as we went to higher classes, they became even more intense and even more introspective. But fundamentally, what the school was trying to convey to us was that it was a model of development and, of course, overconsumptive human behavior that was spiraling us towards destruction. And we as young people needed to be extremely aware of our consumption patterns and be responsible for our consumption patterns. So we were encouraged to grow food, we were encouraged to reuse and recycle and repair and not be wasteful. I've shared this anecdote on some shows when I was much younger and I just won the Miss India and had just started working in the movies, where I spoke about how I would wait for my pencil to go that small before I replaced it. That's how much we were taught to be conscious. Now, obviously, somewhere along the way, life takes over and, aspirations take over and some amount of materialism also takes over, and you kind of learn to, actually forget a lot that you've learned growing up. And it was in my early career in the movies, early phase of my career in the movies, I must have been 23 or 24, I chanced upon a gentleman called Bittu Sehgal, who is the founder of Sanctuary Nature Foundation and Sanctuary Asia. And we were a part of a program for another channel called Save the Tiger. And I got to go to the forest on that program. And something inside me just clicked. And I realized right then that one of the reasons why I was perhaps feeling as lost as I was because I had forgotten the fundamentals of what truly made me feel alive and happy, which was being in connection with nature. So it started from there. And then, of course, my many meetings and interactions with people on the ground, scientists, conservationists, environmentalists at this time helped me understand that we were spiraling towards destruction. We had, of course, destroyed a lot.
Yes.
I mean, as per recent reports, almost 60% of wildlife has been destroyed in the last 50 years.
Yes, and that is something I was reading while coming here, right? So that's...
And then, of course, the fact that the triple planetary crisis that we're confronted by, which is biodiversity loss, pollution, and climate change, was something that became just very urgent to my mind, and I couldn't help but want to be a part of the solution and start working in every way that I could to firstly be a communicator.
Yes.
Because I realized very quickly that the scientists were doing great work, but they were doing it in silos. Civil society did not have access to enough information. There were very few people who were actually conveying the science to people and conveying it in a language that they could understand. And yeah, I just kind of appointed myself to the job.
And thank you for that, because climate change, it's still to become trendy, I would say, the conversation around it, but you were one of the few advocates for it who started conversation around it. But I just want to understand, because you know what's happening when I talk to people about, okay, don't do this, be minimalist, try to reduce consumption. It is not taken in the same way as it would for other things. Say people are liking to consume a certain thing, there are trends on Instagram, people follow that quickly. How, according to you, can we make climate change and sustainability a trend? What do you do on a daily basis that ensures that, okay, yes, I am fighting to save climate?
So I think we'll have to flip the term, because there is such a thing. Yes, we're confronted by climate change. It is a crisis. It is the defining crisis of our time. So what we require to do is climate action, right? So what we need to make trendy is climate action. I think there are some catchwords that are growing now, and more people are getting aware of, which is sustainability. Of course, it's not always used responsibly, and it's not always used truthfully.
Yes.
There is, as we all know, a lot of greenwashing happening as well. But I think it fundamentally starts from the understanding. I mean, as I'm a parent now, so I can speak as a parent. What do we want for our children? We want our children to be healthy, safe, and happy. That's the three main things that we want, right? If we continue living wastefully, with overconsumptive habits, unconsciously, unmindfully, where we are, not managing our waste, where we're using single-use plastics rampantly, we're not disposing of our waste effectively or responsibly, we're being wasteful of resources, we're buying too much, we're using too little, then what we're doing in fact is just harming the health of our children. We are causing cancers, we are polluting the soil, we're polluting the air, we're polluting food. So if we truly care for the health of the ones we love, we have to learn to do better.
Yes. So is that one of the reasons why you have invested in startups which are sustainably very active, or they actually sell sustainable products? Tell us more about it. Which are one of the best investments for you till now?
So Sonal, one of the things that we all have to do is to push for natural, sustainable, organic, healthy to become the norm. These things should not be exclusive.
Yes.
These things should not be the exception. These things should not be something that we have to struggle to find. Yeah. Our kirana shop should be selling us what is healthy. Yeah. So, and how will that happen? When people like us start investing our hard-earned money, our savings in enterprises, in companies, in industries that are doing this work. So I've identified a few brands who I identified because I started using them myself.
Okay.
So it was really par for the course. Like, I wouldn't have discovered them if I hadn't started using them. So the first brand that I invested in was Biko, and I started using them in 2019. In fact, I think that is the year the company was founded. I was looking for, chemical-free face tissues and toilet paper and bamboo earbuds and things like that. And I discovered them and I said, I want to invest in this. This is a very powerful idea. I care about what they're doing. They're doing good work, and I want to put my money and my passion, my love behind them. Similarly, I discovered Shumi, which is a company founded by a mother for her children. And she's doing sustainable, natural toys, plastic-free toys for children. And just like that, I found Greendigo, which is a natural clothing brand for babies and children. And then I found Alter, because I started using natural sanitary napkins 5-6 years ago. And then I said, if the sanitary napkins exist, then the diapers should exist too, right? Because the innovation like that would be the same. And fair enough, I found the diapers locally made by this amazing couple in Delhi, and the company is called Alter. So that's how I found good people doing good work. Greendigo is a completely carbon neutral company. They're aligned with all 17 SDGs. The other companies that I'm working with are learning to become more carbon neutral as we speak. Of course, their products are completely natural, but because they're, they're not really I don't know what the technical term is, but um, they sell their products online. So
Yes.
there is an element
Some
of
carbon,
transportation
yes.
and carbon emission in that, and also trying to make the packaging more sustainable and environmental friendly. But it's amazing. So then now we're all learning from each other and we're all kind of growing together. It's fantastic.
So any more brands that you've identified you think is something that you would be an investor in after becoming a consumer, or just generally like that? Because
all the brands I've invested in so far have come from, like I said, my personal consumption choice. And so I wouldn't want you to use anything that I'm not using myself. And yes, I hope to, expand this portfolio because I want to support organizations and companies that are doing good and are making a difference, and encourage more people to do the same thing, because traditional forms of investments don't really focus on ESG, they don't really focus on sustainability, and they don't really focus on, directing your funds towards systems that are a part of the solution.
From last COP to this COP, we have really seen the impact of climate change. What are we expecting this time around? You must be speaking to policymakers, you yourself are a big part of it. What do you think should the government focus on right now? Because a lot is being spoken about. Execution is the real thing. So what do you think should happen this time?
It's a tough question to answer. A truly tough one, if I have to be honest. So COP26 urged the global north to commit to and send the money that is required towards developing nations to build climate resilience, and of course to switch to renewables, right? That process of switching costs money, and we need the money to be able to do that. And yes, private funding can play a very big part, but there is a promised amount of $1 trillion annually that the historical polluters have promised to developing nations, and they need to fulfill that promise. So there has to be some kind of a binding document, hopefully, that will be signed, that will ensure that this money is, it's been promised, but is actually sent our way. So that's one. The second is, I think we all need to start walking the talk. We have signed up for the Sustainable Development Goals. We have signed the Paris Agreement, but we continue to see unprecedented biodiversity loss. We continue to hear about how thousands of trees are being felled to build infrastructure. So if we truly want to be sustainable, we have to start, making those tough decisions and making those tough calls, because otherwise we will continue to see what's happening in Uttarakhand, we'll continue to see what's happening in the Himalayas, and it's going to intensify and worsen. And when we cut into the mountains, there are going to be ramifications for that.
Do you think it's too late?
I hope not. I truly hope not. Because I think what governments are now beginning to recognize is that they stand to lose a lot more money if they don't become more sustainable, and if they don't implement sustainability across all policies.
So for your mind and everyone's sake, I hope it's not too late and everyone takes the steps that they need to. Just last couple of questions. I won't take much of your time. But does it frustrate you at times to see what mankind has done? Because that's a natural emotion to have. That
what frustrates me most is that a very small population on this planet has plundered it, pillaged it, caused the devastation and destruction that we are all experiencing. An economy was created that serves the rich, that has widened the gaps. Take the example of the pandemic. The rich got richer, and more people than ever before got pushed into poverty. That says a lot about how flawed this model of economics is.
So, last question before we wrap this up. some daily tricks that you would tell us, our viewers, which you do on a daily basis, that they're easy. Minimal life is not difficult, right? And you are living it, that you would like to share with us, which you do and you think that anyone can do it.
So the first thing that I think everyone can easily do is to manage their waste. And I know it's a little inconvenient, but once you make it a habit, it's so gratifying to compost your waste, to segregate other forms of waste, and identify the right places for you to direct that waste, send it to packaging, cartons, plastics, all kinds of things that can go to vendors. So many of them come home to collect it these days. So it's become more convenient than it was ever before. The second thing I think that we can all easily do is to use resources more consciously. So, not waste energy, not waste electricity, switch from CFL bulbs to LED bulbs, use more energy efficient technology, and then fix those leaking taps. Make sure, you put faucets in your taps that reduces the pressure of water, and basically turning the tap off while you're soaping your hands or you're soaping your body. Simple, small things like that can make a big difference. The third thing that I think we can all do is refuse all single-use plastics. It's so easy. This is an easy one to do. I've been doing it for years now. And I'm glad that my tribe is growing.
Yes.
And the hashtag traveling bottle has become so popular. The fourth thing that I think we can all do is eat mostly plant-based food, to avoid non-seasonal and non-local foods and fruits, especially fruits and vegetables. And especially if they're packaged in plastic, please don't buy it. Styrofoam and plastic. Even though these are banned items, magically they still exist everywhere. The fifth thing that I think we can all easily do is support organizations that work towards the protection and conservation of biodiversity and nature.
It was a pleasure having you with us, Dia. You are a part of the solution, not the pollution. So thank you so much for that. I'm sure all of us learned more after having this conversation with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing the good work that you're doing for empowering people. So thank you.